Good morning and happy Friday to everyone. I know this is probably going to be getting to you probably in the afternoon, but that is okay just as long as you are able to hear the devotion. It is our devotion Friday. My kids are actually home. There is a teacher work day, so I'm trying my best to stay in my room away from them so that way I could do this video. So if you do hear some little voices or footsteps running by, that's just my kids. Don't worry about that. But I'm really excited to share this with you guys this week. So whenever I start to, plan my devotions, I really pray that God helps me to go through something that week that I can kind of, understand exactly what I'm talking about, not only from the standpoint of studying his word and knowing exactly what he says, but actually going through it myself so that way I can witness to you and tell you that I've been through this. And so this week I'm going to be talking about hard people to deal with. So I recently went to a women's conference and we were talking, there was an amazing speaker that was talking about different types of people that are out there and how they are really difficult to live with sometimes, not just in your home, but just in life in general. And it really stuck with me throughout the week. And I kind of wanted to use a similar analogy, I guess, of kind of what she did, but talk about people in the Bible who are exactly like that, and talk about people even in the day and time that we live in and how it's still around. Like, there are hard and difficult people in our life that we're gonna have to deal with all the time. So talking about how God uses things, obviously I'm not going to tell you the exact instant that happened in my life early this morning because, there are people involved and I don't know if they watched this video or not, but I had someone who pretty much hurt me regarding my children and something that was said. And I'm telling you now, years ago, because I am a mama bear, I would not have responded as kindly as what I did. But I knew after doing this study what God would have wanted me to do and how I was going to acknowledge the fact of what they said, but not take it to heart and just realize that I don't know how their day's been. I don't know how their life has been. The type of personality that they have is not mine, but I can't sit there and blame them. It's all about how I'm going to respond. So that's what I wanted to talk about with you guys today. And I am talking about hard people to live with in life. So my beginning thought is, who in your life seems so difficult? Can you think of a few? I know that I can. And I'm going to talk about a couple of those today. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into our Find Rest devotional. If you don't have one, it's fine. I'm not reading the whole devotion today like usual, but there's a couple things in there that really stuck out to me that I wanted to read. So this says, God asks us to make a choice, to respond the opposite way that our hearts want to go. Think the best of others, not the worst. Let offenses go. Bless others and do not curse. And what this means is even our enemies, even the people who hurt us the most, even if they're family or loved ones and we don't think that we deserve that, we need to pray for them and we need to bless those. Is your friend running late again? Counter the temptation to think, she's so selfish, she only cares about her own schedule, and instead think, I love her spontaneity and her flexibility, and this is part of a friendship with her. It is probably good for me to not be so tied to a clock. Your boss left your name out of his speech, so you think, I'm so glad Mary got recognized this time. She's been working so hard. This mental discipline allows us to escape the exhaustion of subconscious mental scorekeeping and respond more like Christ, all at the same time. So I'm going to be kind of going back and forth to my Bible and stuff over here too, and I do have my notes. I'm going to be going by that. But we're going to talk about a couple different types of people that are out there. And I will tell you, so my children and I really talked about this with them. Every time that I study a new devotion, I like to talk to my children about it, to tell them what I've learned. And this week we were talking about these difficult kinds of people. And we found out that all of us are difficult kinds of people to someone else. For instance, I have told you several times, I am a chatty Cathy. I am the person who is early to everything, and not everyone's like that. And that can actually be offensive to some people. So I am a hard person to deal with, and so are you. There is something about you or something about someone you know that has something that's hard to deal with. And so we started talking about the different types of people I'm about to tell you about, and we all fell under a different category. And we all live in the same house. We all do the same things. We all go to the same church. But guess what? We're all different people. We all have different personalities, and that's okay. God made us to be different. And we just have to learn to live with those people. And it's how we respond ultimately that is going to handle that situation. So the first one I want to talk about is dominating dictator. Okay, so this type of person, let's first say what a dictator is. Okay, so a dictator is a person with complete control, someone who wants to be in complete control and has the right and ability to do it. So if we look in Acts 5:29, I'm going to go ahead and go to my Bible over here. Let's go to Acts 5:29. And it says, then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men. Okay, so we all have these type of people that are in our lives, okay? And it says they're demanding, they're bossy, controlling, they're manipulators, they're narcissistic, they dominate all conversations. Everything has to be about them, whether they realize they're doing it or not. They're prideful and arrogant. These are those type of people. My daughter, it was so funny because when we were going through this, she's like, that's me. And she goes, I hate to say that I'm arrogant or anything like that, but she goes, but I realize that I always want to dominate every single discussion that we have. It's always been about me. And she goes, and I know that I have to work on my pride issue. But here's the thing, we all suffer with pride. So I was talking to my daughter about that. I didn't want her to think that she has this like narcissistic behavior or anything like that. But it was kind of funny how she just, she's like, wow, you're really talking to my spirit now. That's me. And I think that's always good. But the whole point is we do have those dictators that are in our life, the people that are going to try to control the situation and things like that. But we have an ultimate king that is in heaven, and that is the one that we need to listen to all the time. Now, like I said before, he doesn't come in that audible voice and tell us, but what he will do is he'll talk to us through his word. He will talk to us through our pastor, any kind of way like that, through our prayer. He's that still small voice. He's ultimately the one that we listen to, not the people that are around us. They will fail us daily. We also have nitpickers. Those are the people that are highly critical. They point out everyone else's mistakes. They do nothing wrong. They're very judgmental and they're very insecure themselves. Unfortunately, a lot of times you're living in the flesh when this happens. You're judging unfavorably. It's very fault finding. This type of person is a type of person who's always looking at everyone else's life and nothing they ever do will be good enough. They nitpick every little thing. So this is where a lot of issues come when you're talking about gossip. Now, obviously, gossip is a sin. That is not something that we are supposed to do. We do not talk behind other people's backs. And what that means is if you're going to say it behind their back, but it's not something that you will say to their face, that is considered gossip. We should never be there. We don't want to be that type of person. But unfortunately, a lot of us fall to this. A lot of us, especially women, we're very chatty. We want to know everyone's backstory. We want to know exactly what's going on in their lives. And we want to tell everyone about it because we don't want to be the only person to know. That is a very, very normal thing, by the way. But we just have to be able to know how to respond to it, how to realize that we're doing it, and how to do it God's way instead of our way. And then we have motor mouths. And the funny thing is every single one of my kids said, that's you, Mom. You are the motor mouth. I never shut up. I talk fast and I do not seem to take a breath. And I realized when I watch my videos back that I do for you guys, I talk extremely fast. And I don't know, it's not nervousness. I'm not nervous at all, but I get really excited about things. And I don't want my videos to go on forever. So I'm like, I gotta do it really fast. And I start doing it. But that's because I have that motor mouth kind of mentality. But let's see. So if you are super spiritual people, we show no love. Okay. And what I mean by that is all the time I'm talking about what I'm doing or what someone else is doing. I'm not listening to the other person. How can I show that other person love if all I'm ever doing is just thinking about what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do? So we need to remember that. And a lot of times what we say is empty and shallow. And what we need to say is everything that glorifies the Lord. I talk a lot about anything and everything. My mouth is always moving. If you know my husband, he is the type of person people are like, does he even talk? And I'm like, yeah, he talks. And then I think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I am pretty sure in this relationship, I do all the talking, but do I listen to him? Is everything that I'm saying glorifying God, or am I nitpicking? What am I doing? So that's always really, really good to think about. So we're going to look in 1 Corinthians, and that's chapter 13, verse 1. So let's see. Let me go back. I tried to do my pages here, but they're all so close together. Okay, so what was it? Chapter 13, verse 1. It says, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And what this is saying is basically that I can say anything I want. I can continue to go blah, 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 blah. And eventually that's all you're going to hear. Like on Charlie Brown, it's like, wah, wah, wah. What we're saying is never going to hit someone. It's never going to mean something to them unless it's glorifying God. After saying so much, they're not listening to you anymore. Okay. And I have to come to grasp with that. Okay. I'm trying to get better, I promise, but we are all living in our flesh. We are all trying our best. I know that we are, but we can do better with God's help. We cannot do it by ourselves. We also have the ticking time bomb. These are people that have uncontrolled anger. They rant and they rave. They're easily set off and they always have a chip on their shoulder. Always. So the story that I want to go back to in the Bible is Moses. Okay. So he's seen God part the Red Sea. Okay. He spoke with God. Okay. He saw all the beautiful, just everything that God could do. Okay. He knew God was real. He didn't have any kind of reason not to believe that. And he lost his temper with God. He knew that God was going to give them immeasurable blessings. He knew that they were going for the promised land, but he lost his temper. His anger kept Moses from going into the promised land. And you can find that in Proverbs 14:29. Even as Moses, who loved God, who was doing as God commanded, lost his anger because he had people in his ear all the time. Oh, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. And eventually we become that ticking time bomb. Okay. We have so many people that are coming up to us and saying, well, you're not good enough. Or I thought you said you were going to do this. What about, the time? And, a lot of times this comes with, okay, so as a mother, and I can say this, man, I'm like all of these things. We all have a little bit of all this, but mine is like dinner. Like, I'm hungry. When are we going to eat? What are you making? And I'm always busy. I have 6 kids. I'm trying to do homework. I'm trying to do showers. My husband's working night shift and I'm trying to do it all alone. It's a lot to deal with. And every once in a while, I find myself starting to get angry. I'm starting to get bitter. Like, why is it that everyone always has to ask me? I'm busy. And every once in a while, I get set off. And it's not very often, but I do. And I have to go back and I have to apologize about those things because again, it depends on how you decide that you're going to come back with that. And sometimes we can't help it and we end up having outbursts, but our tongue is a two-edged sword. It hurts people and we have to watch out what we say. So a lot of times we have to go back and we have to ask for that forgiveness when those things happen. We also have the crybaby, the person who is discontented. They are never satisfied. They have very thin skin. They're always the victim. They're whiners and always complaining. And the one thing I can say about this is be a victor, be victorious. Do not be a victim. Don't always think as woe as me. We don't want to be Eeyore, okay? We don't want to be that sad little donkey. And the story that we can go back to in the Bible is Sarah with her handmaid Hagar. So, Sarah gave her husband Hagar, okay? And she wanted to make sure that she had babies because she couldn't. And Sarah got really, really, really upset that Hagar was able to have a baby and that she was not, and she was still barren. So she dealt harshly with her. She wanted to baby. She dealt harshly with her and told her to leave. She had hit her. She did all these things. Very, very harsh with her. And how are we? Are we that way too? Are there times where we become the crybaby and we're never satisfied with the things that God has given us, the blessings that we have? We always look to that next person and go, oh, that person has it better than me. How many times do we do that? I know that I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who ever thought that, or even about our looks. We could be a crybaby about that. Like, well, you know what? Sarah down the street, look at her. She doesn't have any wrinkles. And look at me. I'm getting wrinkles. I have gray hair. We're the same age. What is happening? I don't want to be that Eeyore. I want to respond in the way and go, Sarah, you look amazing. I am so glad what God's blessed you with. And what has God blessed me with? Well, I love my eyes. There's something I can pick. I love my eyes. We have to think about the positive outlook of things. So our next one is our crude and rude dudes. Okay. These are the demeaning and disrespectful, rude in actions and in words. And we come across these people daily, if not hourly, okay? You will come across these people. And then I wanted to go back to King David's son, Absalom, okay? So he disrespected his father. He defied him and attempted to infringe on David as king. He despised that, okay? He was a crude, rude dude. Now, how many of us know someone like that? How many of us can be someone like that at times? We also have the moody Matildas. They're unpredictable emotions, easily set off. You have to walk on eggshells around them. They cannot take criticism, even if it's positive criticism, you know, and you're just trying to help them. They can't take it. And the first thing they do is they pop off. I don't need you to tell me that. I can handle it myself, you know. They have very little patience. And I want to go back to the Bible. So in 1 Samuel chapter 13, we're talking about Saul. So Saul was very impatient and very unpredictable. He paid very dearly for this hastiness that he had. He did not want to wait on God, ever. He wanted to do everything in his own time and his own way because he wanted to make sure that it was done the way that he wanted it to be. He didn't have the ability to take the criticism and be able to understand that he's like, I'm going to do this my way. Couldn't wait. Very, very hasty. And then we have cold-blooded and callous. These are the ones who disregard others' feelings. They have no guilt, no remorse, no conviction, and they're very, very unforgiving. I know I've come across a lot of people like that. With my spirit, I'm a very forgiving person. There's a lot of people that have done me wrong, a lot of people that have hurt me and hurt my spirit. And I'm really able to forgive. And I understand that things still hurt. It's not like you forget those things that happen to you. And I have a very different personality than most people that are out there. But I can forgive and I can move on because I am no better than anyone else. I have hurt people in my past. I know that I have. And I've said things that I cannot take back. And those people still remember and they still hurt from that. And who am I to say, well, if I'm going to do that, then they should be able to do that too? No. It shouldn't be that way. I should be able to forgive. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that though. And so they have to be able to come to the understanding that it's not all about me. If I'm going to hurt someone, I need to be able to forgive them and accept forgiveness too. We have to be able to do that in life because if we don't, it's a really, really tough line. So we're going to find this. Let's go to 1 John chapter 2, verses 10 through 11. There. Where are you, 1 John? There we go. Okay, and it's chapter 2, verse 10 through 11. It says, He that loveth his brother abideth in the light, and there is none occasion of stumbling in him. But he that hateth his brother is in darkness, and walketh in darkness, and knoweth not whither he goeth, because the darkness hath blinded his eyes. And a place where we can see this in the Bible is Cain and Abel. So Adam and Eve, they had two sons. So we had Cain and Abel. And let's see, Cain was the firstborn and he was a farmer. And Abel was a shepherd and they both made sacrifices to God. God needed a sacrifice and they both brought sacrifices, but God favored Abel over Cain. Cain got so angry. He was very cold-blooded. He was very callous. He didn't want to even think that his brother would have been better than him, right? So he was considered the first murderer in the Bible, and he actually killed his brother because he was so unhappy with how God had favored him. So it has no conviction, very unforgiving of those facts, right? And then we have shady people. We have the ones that are not honest. They manipulate their words. We can find this in Luke chapter 19. You can read these later because it's verses 1 through 10. It's a little bit longer, but this has to do with Zacchaeus the Tax Collector, okay? He was dishonest, and every time that he would get taxed, he would save some over to the side for himself of that tax money. So that was a very dishonest thing. And we do have those people that are still in this world. This is never going to change. So my favorite part about seeing these people that are in the Bible is this happened thousands of years ago. But guess what? Here we are, right? And it's still happening today. Okay? It's still happening, and it's still going to happen until Jesus comes back. You know, it's still going to happen. We're still going to have these people. We also have doubters. Okay? They're always suspicious. They don't trust anyone. They are always needing proof and very apprehensive. And this is Job's wife. She told Job to curse God and die because of all the things that were happening to him. Sorry, my cat is bothering the camera. But she just said, you know what? I'm not trusting God at this moment. You need to just curse him and die. Why would he do this to you? So there's a good example. Now, that's just a couple of the different types of personalities that are out there. Like I said, one of us in our family have fallen under like each one of those. We were able to all have agreements on who we thought that that person was, and it wasn't to hurt the other person or anything like that, but just so that way we could see what other people see in us, because a lot of times we do not see the type of things that could be hard or difficult that we allow others to have to put up with. And so this way it kind of, it brought us, humbled us, like, oh, I am like that. How can I fix this? How can I ask God to help me with that? That's good. So we're going to talk about dealing with these type of people, and we're going to offend those people too. So even dealing with ourselves. Okay. So the first thing is we need to be prepared. Okay. We do not need to get easily offended. Okay. Whenever someone comes at us and they're that way, yes, it's the natural approach to become offended that they've done something to hurt you, or something, they said something that upsets you or whatever, but we don't need to be that way. We don't need to take whatever they say or do personally, because we don't know what they're struggling with. And what I mean by this is a lot of times people have issues with the way that they act towards people because they're having a hard time in life. And what I mean is, like, for instance, I'm trying to think of something that may have happened that I can share with you, even in my life, with my husband. Okay. So when he lost his dad, he had a very poor relationship with his dad. He loved him very much, but there was always these hopes that they would have a better relationship, and that never happened. And then his dad passed away. So when it came to that, the way that he treated me, he kind of pulled back. He got angry very easily. A lot of, everything on the inside came out, you know what I mean? But it came out towards me because I was the closest person to him. And a lot of that was very, very hurtful, the things that he said. But he was going through something, and he was struggling through something very hard. And that helped me to understand why he was doing the things he was. It wasn't like he meant to neglect my feelings or to say things harshly to me. It was because he didn't know how to handle them, and I was the closest person next to him. So at that time, I am so thankful for God's grace that I knew at the time, because of what God showed me, was that I need not to pull back at this time. I need to understand the things that he's going through and why he did that, and talk with him about it and pray for him about those things. And it helped immensely in our marriage. So then when it came to his mom passing away, it wasn't as bad. And he pulled back, trust me, he did. And he did have some issues and stuff, but we were able to handle those a lot differently than we did the first time. So that's definitely a good one. Number 2 is always be courteous and learn to respond with kindness, or even sometimes with silence. Like I said before, that tongue, when we use it, it's like a sword. It's going to pierce people. It's going to hurt them. And it's not something that you could take back. They can forgive what you said, but they're never going to forget what you said. They are never going to be able to understand, like when the devil tries to use that against them, and he's speaking in their ear, like you see on those little cartoons. You got the devil over here, and you got the little angel over here, and he's whispering in the ear one thing, and you're hearing it over here. Those times come. They do. And there's going to be times where the devil he's going to remind them of what you said or what you did in certain situations. And they're going to be like, well, can I trust that person? They hurt me before. What means that they're not going to hurt me now? Even if they forgave you, but they need to learn to move on too. So that's good. Let's see. Don't ever say something you're going to regret. And you can read that in Proverbs 16:32. You need to always stay calm during those. Number 3, don't allow pride to make you want to have the last word. That is me. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a chatty Cathy. I don't know what it is, but I always seem to want to have the last word. When I am in I don't want to call it an argument, an intense fellowship with my husband or something like that, I always feel like I have to have the last word. I always feel like I'm entitled to it, and I'm not, and neither is he. So a lot of times when we come to something, it's better for us, and we've tried this, and if you've never done this, make sure that you try this with that difficult person. Sometimes just respond in silence. Don't say anything at all. Walk away, and that person knows I need my time and you need your time, so that way we can think. Before we say anything that we're going to regret or having that last word, we need to go our separate ways for a minute and think and pray about it and come back, and then we'll talk about it. And a lot of times you come back much more calm after that, and it's so much easier. So much easier. And number 4, do not gossip about the person after the altercation. You need to go straight to them besides talking behind their back. They need to know exactly how you felt, so that way that they can, figure out what they need to do to apologize, or vice versa, whatever it is. But when you hold this inside, it has a deep root of bitterness. If you don't say something to that person, you go behind their back and you go tell, so-and-so down the street, you will never believe what this person said about me. You will never believe it. I did not deserve that. I cannot believe it. Did you know what they did in their marriage? And then you start gossiping. And then it's like all these other things just come out of nowhere. And that causes hurt, because now all these people have all this knowledge about this other person. The other person has no idea they did anything that could have hurt you. But now all these other people only know your side of the story. See how that could be bad? It could be bad. So we need to not do those type of things. We don't need to be gossip. Okay. And then 5, remember that we all have faults. We are all sinners. Okay. We all fall short of the glory of God. We all do. We are none better than anyone else. I don't care who you are. I don't care how close you are to God. You are no better than me. You are no better than that sinner over there who doesn't even know God. We are all sinners and fall short of the glory of God. We are saved by grace if we accept Jesus Christ. And that is the only thing that we can cling to. We are saved by grace. His blood was sufficient. It was the propitiation or the payment for our sins. And that is enough. And that's it. But we're all still going to sin. We are still in the flesh. And until Jesus comes back to get us, we are still going to be in the flesh, and we're still going to fall daily. That is why we need to be in our Bible. That's why we need to be praying. That's why we need to try to witness to as many people as we can. And this is why we have to remain strong. But we can't do that ourselves. We have to do that in God's strength. So if we look in Ephesians 6:6, we know that Satan is our enemy. That person is not our enemy. No matter how much they try to hurt us, no matter how much Satan's whispering in their ear, oh, this is what you need to do, or this is how you need to respond, they are not our enemy. The enemy is Satan. He is the one who is the father of lies, and he is the one who is going to try to wreck and ruin every relationship, especially those of you who go to church. And what I mean by this is you have relationships within the church, okay? And what he's going to do is he's going to try to wreck that. He is going to try to make it to where you're having issues with someone that's inside the church. You're no longer praying for that person. You don't want to see them. And guess what? When it starts with a Christian and you're not having that joy and you're having that deep-rooted selfishness and all these type of things that are happening and you can't forgive that person, and you're trying to go out and tell other people how to do it, that's going to be a very, very hard place to be. And I've been there. And there's been times where someone did me wrong, and guess what? I had to go to that person. I had to say, we need to go to the altar and we need to pray about this and we need to fix this. And does it happen right away? Not all the time. And it's not just me. It happens a lot. And it's not just in churches. It's everywhere. It is. So we need to know how we're going to respond. Okay, so we need to first be ready to forgive. True peace is coming from Christ, and that is how we're going to find it. No other way. And we need people to know that Christ lives inside of us. And if he doesn't, and you don't know Christ, he can save you. All you have to do is be able to know what he did on the cross for you and understand that you are a sinner. You are no better than anyone else. The things that you do is a sinful nature, and you need to come to God and say, Lord, please forgive me for the things that I've done to others. Please forgive me for the sin that I've committed against you. Lord, I know you. I know you died on the cross for me. You shed your blood for my sins, and you knew what I was going to do all along, Lord, but I love you. And I want you to be the ruler over my life. I want you to teach me how to be more like you. And accept Jesus Christ into your heart, and that's all you have to do. That's it. And then you have a home in heaven one day. You have a peace that surpasses all else. You have Jesus living inside of you. That's all it takes. It's not hard. It's a free gift. That's all it takes. But we have to place that, the bitterness to the side. We have to come before him humbly. That's what we need to do. So ending thought, and this is what I want you to journal. I want you to sit down and really think on these, okay? Which of these characteristics described you? Okay? And I want you to think about that all week long. And I want you to ask God how he can help you with those things. Where did you see yourself the most? And let's see, ask God also to help you notice. Let me see. Ask God. Okay, so to be not such a hard person to deal with. And 2, how will you respond with difficult people in your life? This is very important. I want you to make a list of the type of people that you know that are in your life, and you know them by name. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell anyone. Just pray about it quietly. God knows. And how they're making your life difficult, and not praying that God's going to change them particularly, but change your heart and how you're going to respond, because that ultimately is that's the end of it, is how we're going to respond to that. And I'm trying to see, I had a worksheet over here. Wait 1 second. And I wanted to finish off with this, and then we're done with the video. But it says, choose today to let your life have a profound effect of good on others, no matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice. Make the choice today and tomorrow and onward from his point. Your good habits will help those who follow you. And I think that's a very, very important note to have. So anyways, I appreciate all of you. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope that God taught you something through this lesson. And I hope that you grow through this. And also, I know that a lot of you have not done it already, but if you are making it to the end of my videos, make sure that you are commenting on anything that we can pray about. I know that there's a lot of us that watch these videos and a lot of us that want to be in prayer for others and how we can help you. So if there's a specific prayer you have, make sure that you write it down. I don't have to share it on the video if you'd not like me to, but if you would like me to, I'd love to share it so that others know how to pray for you, because when two or more are gathered in prayer, and it doesn't mean it exactly at the same place at the same time, God is in the midst. He's always in the midst. He's always listening. But sometimes we have to pray on others' behalf because they're weak, and that's okay. But anyways, I love you all, and I hope to see you on my next video. And we're going to close out in prayer, and I'll see you guys later. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this day. Lord, thank you so much for this devotion that you've given me this week. Lord, I'm so grateful that you even gave the opportunity for me to go through something very hard this week that had something to do with this lesson. To help me to learn to humble myself, Lord. I'm no better than anyone else. I'm no better than anyone else who's watching this video, or anyone that's out there, Lord, but you live in me, Lord, and I'm so happy that you use these things that you do to help me learn. And Lord, I pray that you do the same for each and every one of the people that are watching this video, Lord, that you bless them this week, Lord. Give them health, give them everything that their heart desires according to your will, Lord, and we'll thank you for it. And Lord, I just pray that you help them if they don't know you to learn who you are. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.